The following is a presentation of Playfly Sports Properties and Michigan State Sports Properties. Oh, pleasant good evening, everyone. It is Thursday, June 1st, 2023. I'm your host, Jason Strayhorn, along with my co-host, Otis Wiley and Jehuu Caulcrick. And this is Sparta MSU. Don't forget to click the like and subscribe button. If you're new to the show, thank you. Welcome to the party. Don't forget the live party. The live chat is where the party is at. Go in there, log out, and do your like and subscribe, come back in and hang out with everybody. Don't forget to tell us where you're from. Drop a little note and tell us where you're watching or listening from. Don't forget to follow us on all of our social media accounts. And this is how to do that. Thanks for tuning in to This is Sparta MSU. Interested in hearing more from us? Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok. Click on the link in the bio to head to our link tree for more information. Help us grow our following by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Tell your friends and family to do the same. Have an idea for a future episode? Let us know in the comment section below. And now, back to the show. Hey, fellas, so it's Thursday, June 1st. It's full contact season in the recruiting world. How are you guys doing today?
I made it to Thursday, man. This holiday had me jacked up.
Right.
I was like, is it Friday? It's trash day? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, this holiday had me messed up too. But today I came, I mowed some stripes in the yard.
Some stripes. Oh man, we need proof of pictures. Like, you got missing grass blades popping up, don't you?
No. I like it. That's my thing. Mowing the lawn. I sit on my mower. I go call it.
How big is your yard?
Oh my God!
You gotta be out here walking. Look, Stray doesn't have those problems because he lives in a development. They cut it for him. So
right. That's what I'm talking about. But no, out there did the little weed eating and everything. Water the grass.
We need proof, Stray. We see how you do. We need proof. Hey. Oh, look, Stray out here on mute. We know he think it's Friday.
Getting a little feedback, fellas. I don't know what it is.
Oh. Is it you? Is it me?
I don't have any feedback.
Well,
here, I'll be right back.
Go ahead. Let's do this. I'll be right back. Oh man, well, June. I'm looking forward to obviously this conversation because June last year, we didn't have this podcast started, right? So I was just started in my role as the general manager here, and I got the chance to finally take in, like, not say the noise, but more so like the Mel Tuckerisms, right? Mm-hmm. Like who he is, what he's been from afar. And, that June last year, bro, like we're looking forward to, seeing and talking through it. I know a lot of our subscribers and our followers are waiting for our guests to pop on as well. But let's talk about the schedule, man. Like there's an uproar right now, man, when he got to Big Ten. We talked about our last episode? We talked about the contract not being signed with the NBC.
That was two episodes, and then last episode we talked about the game being moved to Ford Field, and everyone was up in arms about that. It's like everyone relax, don't throw the baby out the bathwater yet. Is that the same?
I've never heard that say, but
that's a say. Someone in the chat has to know that.
Don't throw the baby out the bath.
Don't throw the baby out the water. Yeah.
It's don't throw the baby out with the bath water. Man.
Hey, appreciate OG coming in like this young whippersnapper don't know what he's talking about. I guarantee you said
fixed, fellas. So we're good to go. We're good to go.
Well, we talked about it. We talked about it straight as you went off. It was saying that I think this is now the trickle down effect of the repercussions of not having a signed contract. In my opinion, with the NBC Big Ten, because you got Peacock, you got NBC, and you got different matchups that are getting prime time versus, like, in our opinion, I would think the Washington-Michigan State is a prime time game. But when you look at it, you see the uproar of, hey, we're only on Peacock, which is a streaming service, and you got to have a subscription. You got to be a subscriber or a member for it. So it's an uproar. For my job, I'm thinking about how many eyes are going to be watching that game and visible to corporate partners. I'm looking at that element standpoint from a working standpoint. But what's your thoughts, Stray, on Peacock? I know you were in the uproar when you saw the news. Like, what's going on? Jay, you said some different words. I don't want to put him on the altar.
little expletives, little beeps. But like, look, I saw Peacock, struggle mightily last year with Thursday night football with the NFL. They had terrible matchups, and it wasn't very good service. So when I see them being a streaming service taking our Washington game, which to me, Washington's going to come into Spartan Stadium as a top 10 opponent. You have Michael Penix Jr., who has beat Michigan State, I believe, 3 times in his career, 2 or 3 times. Once at Indiana, and I think another time, so it's 2 times at Washington. He's coming into Spartan Stadium, a guy who's a first-round talent caliber type of quarterback, going against Michigan State's brand of defense. And, there's some questions for Michigan State, but definitely, in my opinion, a bigger matchup than Purdue versus Syracuse, which NBC took as the primetime game. Nothing against Purdue and Syracuse, but in doing some little polling on my own around, I think that the Washington-Michigan State game would be a bigger game. That's just me. And I think that we'll see how it works. I know that people will be listening to the broadcast more than they did otherwise. So, Choo-Choo, you better be right on point on the sideline.
That's a good
thing. Yeah, we're going to have some more.
Listen, I think you're going to have a lot of Spartans sharing their passwords, having multiple households like that Netflix debacle. But, you see somebody just posted Peacock's on special now for $19.99 for the year. So the time is now, which I think that's a good strategy from their brand's perspective. But for us, it's like, listen, man, we need all the Spartan Nation to be tuning in. That's near and far, right? So I think we're going to see possibly there may be some shuffling that they may, add it or switch it. But at this point, the damage has been done. I mean, we've done a lot of different news with the Ford Field with this now, and it's just like, man, what else next, man? We're gonna be on Big Ten Plus, like what's going on next? You just know, you never know. You wake up and there's a different news that's happening, so it's gonna be interesting to see.
Go ahead, Chew.
My whole thing with it is all optics. I think it's all about optics now. You're the Big Ten Conference, all right? There's the SEC Conference and the Big Ten Conference are the 2 premier conferences in college football right now, bar none. I don't care what you say. You have Clemson down there in the ACC, whatever. There's onesie twosies, but SEC and Big Ten are the 2 premier conferences in college football. And I think it's optics overall. Like, if you're playing a game on a streaming platform, that's not very good optics. It's like watching, because once I saw this on Peacock, and I go back to like when I was playing, in the NFL, and guys would make jokes with each other about their games not being televised on prime time or national TV. They'll be like, "Oh, you guys used to play on TBS. You guys used to play on Cartoon Network. All those things." And now it's like you're playing on Peacock. It's like I get where what NBC's doing. Trying to build their brand with their streaming platform. And I get all these, young kids, they're streaming and everything like that. But I think from a brand perspective, that game, especially that, prime time, as the game first is a 5:00 kickoff. Like I haven't heard of a college kick at 5:00. And second,
because it's streaming. That's what you can create your own.
So does,
times.
Yeah, but it's like I don't, I haven't. So that's my issue with it. It's just that's a marquee matchup there. Washington's no slouch, and now they're coming over here to East Lansing to play, and now this game is being on a streaming platform only. So that's where I think there's a little, I get it. If it was a Central Michigan game, I'm fine with that being, like that's fine. Beginning of the year, everything like that. It's not, but this is a marquee game. I grew up 3.5 hours from Syracuse. People there don't even want to see Syracuse play. So, why are they on the NBC? So that's just my take on it. It's all about optics.
Yeah, it's something different. It's a new world we're entering into, not just the transfer portal, NIL, but you also have streaming games at 5 p.m. They're watching us over in Mississippi, Newark, New Jersey. Yeah, they're down in the SIP. That's Steve Smith down in the SIP. They're out in Ohio watching us.
I'm surprised, Jay, you didn't bring up Brett Favre, but
stealing all them people money.
Hey, we got to give a shout out to the people in Lansing too. South Side, Holt, West Side, everybody that's in Lansing and East Lansing. Definitely thank you guys for all
Portland, Oregon.
Let's go.
We got some Portland. Okay. Yes.
Some of that Nike swag. Yeah, come on now.
I hope those people are safe from Favre in Mississippi.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
No, look, we talked about dude, this guy.
Allegedly.
Right.
Listen, we talked about this too. Like this is like was it last Tuesday or Thursday? I said we just need to win. Let's just win. Like whatever it is, man. The case may be stuff moving all around us. Let's just focus on beating Washington, regardless if it's on prime time or on streaming. Let's just compete and win the game, and then let the chips fall where they may on that one. But it is what it is. But
I agree with you, Otis. I think you're 100% right. If we win, we're going to earn more of these key matchups. Look at the Lions. They didn't win, and that's why they played at 1:00 every single game. You got to earn these games. And from last year's record, we did not earn it. But hopefully, we start turning ties, and then there's that battle for Michigan State. Between Fox, between CBS, between NBC. All those different things. Hopefully, that winning is going to solve all those things.
Great point, Chu, and great point for you down in Tampa, Florida, who's also tuning in. Before we move on to another subject, we got to just bring on the resident guru of recruiting and all things related to Michigan State, and that's Corey Robinson from 247Sports, who joins This is Sparta. How you doing, Corey?
Oh, I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Oh, we're blessed every time you come here, man, because everybody's like, I'm tuning in when Corey's on, man. So we're excited, bro. Welcome back.
Yeah.
I guess my thought weighing in on the Peacock thing, too, is I don't think they mean it as like a slight to Michigan State and Washington game. I think they just think that they're being profound with putting it on streaming. But, yeah, I'm with you guys. I think just keeping it right there where everybody has it is the better move financially for everybody. But I mean, I guess they know more than we do. But yeah, I think it was more of they're saying, oh, let's hype this game up on this Peacock channel, which to all of us is kind of weird. But I think it was meant to kind of highlight it. But they just probably did a bad job of doing it in our heads, at least.
Oh, so you think this is a good thing for Peacock? Obviously, it should be high ratings for Peacock.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's they're probably going to try and pull games, to try and build that brand to make people have to get it. But whether it works or not, I mean, all four of us will be in the stadium, so I guess
True.
We'll
So
just have to have everybody go
Jay's
there.
gonna go live on his social. So
I'll go live. You guys can watch
From the sideline.
Yeah,
They
we're
get
gonna go
banned.
live. This is Sparta get banned.
They're gonna get banned. The
Like, here you
Peacock
go,
police
like,
are gonna
Jay,
come
Jay
and get
can't even keep up with it.
man.
Like watching an MMA fight, but people
Right.
shooting it from the crowd.
Yes. Before we talk about the camp that you were at today down in downtown Detroit, Wayne State, we're going to cover a little bit of basketball from Michigan State, which the talk of the town is that AJ Hoggard and Jaden Akins both decided to come back and remove their name out of the NBA draft.
Yeah, I think that's huge news for Michigan State. I think it was expected when they went in that's what the outcome would be, but until they actually come back, you never know what the guys are going to do. But for Michigan State, now that catapults them to one of the top 2 or 3 teams, I think, entering the season to win the national championship. So, yeah, it's huge news for them. I think you might even see like Jaden Akins. I think he might come with a big chip on his shoulder too, coming back, because I think he was the guy that maybe feels disrespected a little bit because he did do a lot of good things for Michigan State last year on both sides of the ball, on defense and offense. He shot the ball pretty well. So I think maybe you'll see him come back with more of a chip on his shoulder, trying to prove the NBA people that he was ready to go now. So I think, and for him, I think the key is just consistently every game, just knowing what you're going to get out of him and defining the role a little bit bigger.
Corey, what are, based off of the going into the draft and then getting the analysis back to obviously then put your name out of, have you heard anything in the streets or like across, basketball world of what those two need to actually work on in the offseason, and obviously for the season to then propel themselves in a better spot when it comes to putting their name into the draft?
Yeah, I think for Hoggard, it's just getting the jump shot more consistent, maybe continuing to get his body in shape a little bit more. He's done a good job since he's been here, but in the NBA, the game's a little quicker. So I think for AJ, it's just getting that shot more consistent and just continuing to get in better shape. And then for Akins, I think it's just consistency. I know I was talking to people, if he was 6'5" or high or taller, like he would be off to the league right now, probably in the lottery discussion, but he's in that 6'2", 6'3" range. So I think that's kind of he's almost got a knock on him, where what he did at 6'2" and 6'3" would have been good enough at 6'5". So I think for him, it's just coming back every single game, being consistent, maybe showing that he can create a little bit more. And then I think for Jaden Akins and Michigan State, I think it would be really good to isolate him a little bit more. I think that's something he's wanting to do, and it's something he can do. And I think it's something Michigan State needs, because as good as they were last year, there's a lot of times that they got really stagnant offensively. So maybe you could go with more of an NBA approach where you find matchups from each play to, and kind of exploit a defense, whether that's from Akins on the wing at the 3, or whether it's AJ Hoggard or Tyson Walker. You have a lot of options of how you can attack a defense with those 3, because they're all pretty much good ball handlers, and they can create off of the dribble. So I think it would be best for Michigan State and Izzo even to kind of expand Akins' role and let him kind of create a little bit more off of the dribble.
That's a great point, because last year, Max Christie did a similar thing. He tested the waters, but he decided to stay in the draft, and he ended up going second round to the LA Lakers, and he contributed a little bit during the playoff run that LA had. So you're seeing this now with Hoggard and Akins both coming back. The national championship, the Final Four talk will be in East Lansing for sure. You have a great recruiting class that's coming in. I also saw that Purdue center, the player of the year, returning player of the year, Edey, he's coming back.
Man,
so what does that say?
guy.
I mean, the full 5 starters for Purdue are coming back, who won the Big Ten tournament, I think, and regular season, right? Last year. What do you guys think about that?
Taiwan will have to wait a year for him.
Taiwan? He's not going to be an NBA player?
Man, look, he ain't got a jumper. Have you seen him hit a jumper like outside
I've seen
of
him play like 12 games without one foul, committing one foul. I don't know how you do that.
What I would do if I was Michigan State is you're not going to get somebody that's going to be able to stop him down in the post and all that. But if I was Michigan State, I would exploit him on the defensive end and make him go guard a Malik Hall or make him go guard Xavier Booker on the wing, stuff like that. Go get some shooters at the 5 and actually exploit him that way. Because, I mean, he's going to do what he's going to do, whether you have Malik Hall guarding him or Joey Hauser last year, or whether you had Madi Sissoko. That's what he's going to do. So I think you counter it with, making him have to move and go out on the perimeter and guard people. And then if you get in situations where you can take them off of the dribble, maybe you can get them into foul trouble if that's possible.
Yeah, so my thing is going back to the Michigan State stuff, all the excitement in East Lansing with, both those guys coming back, the recruiting class coming in, and there's still some really good players that's on the team. Only 5 people can play at a time. Is there enough ball to go around? How do, Izzo's been in it a long time, but how do you, check, egos and everything like that to all come together for one goal, because is that just is too much is there such a thing as too much talent on one team?
Yeah, I think Michigan State, though, Tom Izzo's created a different culture. So now that culture all summer, when these guys come in, it's not going to be about themselves. It's going to be about the championship, which, I mean, obviously Tom Izzo's always kind of focused on winning and championships. But I think coming in this year, everybody on the roster understands that, this is a legitimate national championship contending team. So maybe you put the egos aside for the betterment of the team, which I think Tom Izzo's done as good, if not better than anybody at getting guys to be able to do that. Like whether you look at even how the transfer portal is so rampant in college basketball and college football, but you're not seeing that affect Tom Izzo as much negatively or positively. He just he gets the guys to buy into what the mission at hand is and what the team is. So, I think if, obviously there's going to be guys that are always going to want to do more or get more minutes, but I think Tom Izzo and then having the seniors, AJ Hogard, Tyson Walker, Aikens coming back, Malik Hall, everybody's going to just kind of be like, hey, we're playing for a championship. Let's make this work out. And there will be games where some guys don't play as much, but then they might play more the next game, and you can just base it off of matchups and how they're playing that night early on.
Man, we're forgetting about Baby Jax, Cooper, in the weight room all season. But I'm going out on a JU whim here. The recruiting class and the one that we have not truly been highlighting, talking about, like Xavier Booker is obviously the leading guy, Jeremy Fears, but Cohen Carr, like we're talking about an electrifying guy, high flying. I've never seen a highlight where he's shooting a jumper, but he's going to be a ball stopper defender, gritty. But he's going to be that like guy that's going to be able to push and help us on that defensive end when, we struggled a little bit last season. And I feel like this season, there's really no room for error because we are veterans now, right? We have a veteran team who has played and did that long stretch last year, which is going to, get us that itch to we can win it all. Versus like last year where we had the injuries, we've had, some issues with chemistry, but I think now they understand that how they play together. So I'm looking forward to, seeing it. And I know Father Tom has got his feet kicked up, just like feeling good, man. Like it's a breath of fresh air. And then, they're on the recruiting trail now to secure that other class for, the next class, but it's going to be electrifying in Breslin, and I can't wait for it.
That's a great point. I mean, you talk about Tom Izzo. I for one, like our chances. Tom Izzo versus Matt Painter. If it ends up being that for a championship or any kind of game, in my opinion, I'm taking Izzo over Matt Painter from Purdue. Purdue's men's head basketball coach, Tom Izzo. But there's been some talk about the coaching staff at Michigan State where one Imani Bates discusses his decision to decommit from Michigan State in 2022, and he cites Michigan State having not as good of a coaching staff as, I guess, Eastern Michigan.
No,
I think we have the article. It's Memphis.
Memphis.
It's Memphis. I think, do we have the article that we can pull up? Hopefully.
While we're doing that, if you want to talk about that, not coach, did y'all see Penny throw that water bottle? Enough said.
Honestly, why are we wasting our time with this dude, man? Like, we get it, Imani. You was a dude. We was like LeBron on the cover. Like, we get it, man. You was a dog. You was coming out, but Jaden Akins played with Imani in that Bates was it development? Whatever, the Bates Academy, and you saw how that fizzled and went down quick. And so maybe it's you, my brother, like, from the standpoint, and like clearly we went further into the tournament than they did, and that's Memphis. But why is he talking about that when he was in Eastern Michigan, right? So it's kind of like, hey man, like, don't use us for clout when you try to, we had you and you said, no, they know what it is. Like, just
right.
Let's let it go. Let it go.
Yeah,
bro.
and at the time too, like, I think, looking back at everything that's transpired and everything like that, Imani Bates needed Tom Izzo more than Tom Izzo needed Imani Bates. Through personal growth and developmental and everything like that, I think it's very easy and very simple to say that fact there. But he's not with us. Good luck to him at EMU. And let's get excited about the guys that we have coming back.
Yeah, I for one,
What do you
it's
think,
more of a Jordan guy than a LeBron guy. But when you look at what happened with a guy like Imani Bates coming out of high school with all the hype, it does give you more respect for LeBron because he was able to live up to those and exceed some of those expectations at an early age. Not easy to do with that spotlight following you around, as you've seen some of the ups and downs with Imani. But look, best of luck to him as he continues. I think he's in the draft, right? I don't know. I believe he's moving on to the NBA. But I just wanted to get Corey's take on that because, I know, Corey, you kind of followed the whole commitment, the progress of him going from school to school and all that. So what is your thought of him making a statement like this?
Yeah, I think it just probably shows everything that's wrong with Imani Bates the last couple of years. Like, it's not even something he should be talking about in the draft because, like he's not making himself look good. Because I think Tom Izzo and Michigan State's coaching staff and the success they've had, they have a lot of respect from the NBA people. So to have somebody that hasn't lived up to what his hype was in 2 years, does that make him look like he's still got like some bitterness about the whole situation and how everything played out for him? And that's probably not a good look for Imani, and where he's kind of a guy that he just needs to keep growing on the court and off the court. And he probably didn't show that in his draft interviews. And I also agree with Jehuu that I think Tom Izzo was what Imani needed, assuming that everybody else in his circle would let it happen the way it needed to happen. Because you look at him, he's not a very complete basketball player. He just chucks 3-point shots, so his shot percentage isn't that good. So even on the games that he scored a lot, most of the time it wasn't an efficient scoring game. Doesn't get back on defense, doesn't really rebound. So that's what the difference with him and LeBron is. LeBron was driven to keep getting better at every aspect of the game and not just one part of the game. So the big difference between the two of them, just in the way they approached their stardom and their fandom and just having that pressure on them.
Lots of pressure. Definitely lots of pressure. And, there's also lots of pressure for everyone right now that loves those pancakes. And we're going to have some pancakes, drop them in the chat as we listen to this message from our friends over at IHOP.
When you're smiling. iHoppy Hour, starting at $6 at 3 p.m. Only from IHOP. Download the app and join the rewards program today.
Choo-choo. Take a shot.
All right. IHOP now has 2 amazing all-natural Angus beef steak burgers, the bourbon, bacon, jam, and the new jalapeno kick with a crunchy 4-cheese crisp. Get a combo with fries and a drink starting at $9 only at IHOP. Available for a limited time. Restrictions may apply.
Perfect.
Hey, I feel like I was on Good Burger.
May I help you?
Man, I swear, if you
Great
showed up
job.
to set with the Good Burger full out,
You better sign me up, boy. Come on now.
Look at that.
Let's go,
Costanza,
Chew.
let's go, Chew. Hell yeah. And Cal
Hey,
Philly
he said,
can
put some bass in there,
boy.
choo choo. Carson.
I mean, they
Good
get
job,
hyped
brother.
about
Good
the
job.
pancakes around
Respect.
here, Corey. What can we say? I mean,
Oh,
Corey,
this is
it's
excellent.
June 1st. June 1st. What does that mean to the football recruiting calendar? That it's now. Go ahead.
Yeah, means a lot of people, a lot of coaches, and a lot of writers like myself that cover recruiting aren't going to get a lot of sleep in the next month. But that's what the adrenaline get you going through there, and that's why we all like it. It's the busiest month in recruiting, I think. Then obviously in December you got to sign all these guys that you get committed, which nowadays is always an extra challenge. But yeah, I think it's a moment now where Michigan State's going to start to stack positive momentum. I think they've kind of, if you look at them, last December for the 23 class, I thought they closed extremely well. They stacked a lot of really good signings, and then maybe from January up to now, honestly, like if you look at them as a program recruiting and just in general with the roster, it seems like they've kind of struggled to, they get one commitment, but then they have someone decommit or somebody transfer off of the team, or, there's always something, there's always a shoe falling from it. And they were never really stacking good news back to back to back on there, where now I think this month you're going to see Michigan State have a ton of success recruiting. They've kind of stacked the board up in a good way where they have a lot of highly rated kids that, they're not looking for that huge payday like maybe some of the guys that you saw on campus last June were looking for in their recruitment. So I think they found themselves a little bit more. Some of that has to do with, you came off of 11-2, the hype factor was up there. You had a lot of momentum going, but at the same point, I think they kind of lost focus of where they were and who they are and, how they're going to be successful here. So you look at this first weekend, I think they have, 10 commitments. I think one of the guys is going to do it later in the month, but I think all of those kids that are coming up, 9 of them are 4-stars. The 1 3-star is Henry Hasselbeck, a quarterback out of Massachusetts, which the last name is probably familiar for most people that watch football. He's the son of Matt Hasselbeck, who spent, I believe, 15, 20 years, somewhere in that range in the NFL. So he's a prospect that's really blown up the last few months. He's added the Michigan State offer last Saturday. Pitt jumped in with him. But he's going to be on campus June 2nd to kind of kick off that thing for him. I think he's a guy to kind of keep an eye on. I think Michigan State coaches like him a lot. They like the pedigree. He's going to come in, understanding the position a little bit better than most. So he's definitely a name to keep an eye on. And then when you look at the other names, it's a lot of really good athletes at the skill positions on defense and offense. I think Bronte Johnson, he's listed as an athlete in Michigan State. He's out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. Michigan State's recruiting him as a wide receiver. I think most teams are. I think that's his preferred position, but he's also a guy that if it didn't work out for whatever reason at wide receiver, he's got an NFL future as a defensive back too. So he's one of those rare athletes that could project to the NFL on either side of the ball. I think Michigan State's in a real good spot there with him kind of battling Purdue and Notre Dame. Notre Dame is recruiting him as a defensive back, so that might hurt them a little bit more just because he does have a preference of playing wide receiver. And then Dylan Williams out with Strayhorn in California. You know, 4-star linebacker. I think Miami, Oregon are kind of two teams that are there, or not Miami, USC and Oregon. I think Oregon and Michigan State might be the top two for him going into these visits, but he's going to see all three of those schools, probably make a decision before his senior year. Zadavian Sims, he committed to Oregon. He's scheduled to come up this weekend. He hasn't really said yes or no on whether he's going to still do that with his commitment. So that's something that we'll be monitoring at Spartan Tailgate and everyone else to see if he does end up making it up this weekend. And then Quasi Gilmore, another California wide receiver. He's 6'2", 180, very athletic, got really good speed. I think when you look at all the wide receivers coming up this month in June, I think the speed is better with these guys than some of the people they've maybe targeted in the past. So you're seeing that Coach Hawkins, Courtney Hawkins is, you know, targeting, he wants to get faster. So you're seeing that emphasis. And then Marcellus Barnes, 4-star out of Tennessee, a cornerback, 6'2", 170-pound corner. He likes Michigan State a lot. Harlan Barnett kind of got the ball rolling with him. And then Jim Salgado has kind of taken over and played a major role in the last month or so since he's been here and kind of settled in. So that's a guy that Michigan State's sitting in a good spot with. He would be a huge addition if they're able to pull that off. I think he's a top 300 kid nationally, so just one of the better players. Cannon Daniels, 5'11", 190-pound running back from Mississippi. He's currently committed to Florida, but Michigan State jumped in on him actually kind of late, and they were able to get him to set up an official really quick. So it's kind of interesting that they were able to go jump in for a guy that committed to a good school like Florida that's had some success putting running backs out there and get him to lock in an official visit really quickly. He's an electric running back, just really good speed that translates over to the field. I think he's maybe a 4.4, 4.5 type of guy on the track, but he plays faster than that. Quick twitch kind of guy. Jalen Thompson, he's committed to Michigan State. I believe at this point he's the longest tenured commit due to a couple decommitments. But he's out of Tennessee, 4-star. You know, he's going to be on campus, being able to recruit a lot of these guys that we've mentioned. You know, and trying to get them to join him, especially Marcellus Barnes, who I mentioned earlier. Those two are good friends, both from Tennessee. They play 7v7 together, so he's a good one. And then Logan Bennett, the offensive line commitment out of Maryland, St. Francis Academy. I know, Jason, you know that program well, as they played IMG. I'd put them right up there in that same class as IMG and Mater Dei and Bosco out in California. It's maybe those four schools that really stick out nationally. They play a national schedule. I think we have him as a 3-star. I think he should probably be borderline 4 at 6'6", 315-pound guard, playing a national schedule the way he does. Really good athlete and very strong kid. Then he plays offensive line with that mean streak, which is what you want out of your linemen, to get those guys that don't like to lose a rep and will bury the guy in the ground. And then Eric Carner, he's a 3-star right now, a tight end out of Illinois, 6'5", 220. I think he's a guy that's got a really good chance at becoming a 4-star with us at 247. He's kind of blown up this off season as more people have gotten to see his junior film, and as he just continues to grow and mature as a player. So they have a huge first weekend of visitors coming up.
Man, you just gave us a lot of rundown right there. You know,
Like, I'm already taking notes.
I'm taking notes.
I needed the water.
Come up for air. Come up for air, Corey. I mean, you brought up Logan Bennett, an interior offensive line. I don't know. You guys always. I don't know what it is about the interior offensive line that just doesn't get love in the recruiting world so far. We're working on that though. We're working on the interior offensive line getting love. But the question that we're getting from a lot of people in the chat right now is David Stone, the 5-star defensive tackle out of IMG. Any word on his official visits? Is he coming to Michigan State for an official visit? Have you heard anything from David Stone's camp?
Yeah, I think he'll take an official visit to Michigan State. I think they're waiting to kind of see where he's going.
Because it's like the 10th time.
Yeah, it's like you know, they want to get one of the later official visits for him. So they're kind of letting stuff kind of settle in, see where he locks stuff in and where his recruitment's going. But
how has it been?
I'm sure he'll be here
since you know, losing Brandon BT, you know, and Kevin Vickerson, obviously that he had a great relationship with, and now you know you've seen things kind of cool off as far as him coming up to Michigan State for the unofficials. Where do you think Michigan State stands with him overall right now?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of change in that recruitment. You know, like you mentioned, you had BT, that kind of was the first one, and Marco did a really good job with that recruitment. And then even Saeed Khalif, that was a guy that, you know, he had a really strong relationship with. So yeah, there's a lot of turnover. I think Dyron's done a pretty good job staying on top of him, but I mean, it's still a lot of change. I think the bigger thing, more than change, will be though, is when you see like Oregon, Miami, and Texas A&M starting to loom a little larger, and the visits become more frequent to those schools. I mean, we've kind of seen how that works out when recruits start going to them high dollar NIL things. Because I mean, at the same point too, like, he's a great player, but at some point you gotta, you know, how much is too much in NIL for an unproven high school player? No matter what his ranking is. So if it gets to that point where the numbers get crazy, you know, that's probably not boding well for Michigan State, because they're not going to want to spend that type of money for a high school player. That's something, you know, where you want to get the guy, and if he's successful here, then you get the dealers like This Is Sparta gives them a big deal to be their spokesperson, and you know that's the way it should work. Because at some point, you know, you get some stuff to come in. Like, I'm not saying that's not a thing, but at some point it's got to be, you get what you earn once you get here.
So Corey, I know earlier when you were talking, you said a lot of the guys, there's a change from, you know, this June from last June. A lot of the guys were high dollar NIL guys last June, and this June it's not like that. What is the difference with that? What is that?
Yeah, it's just, you know, with your recruiting those guys, you need to really do a good job figuring out where their priorities are, you know, and like, if the guy wants to get a good payday, that's all for them. I mean, it's easy for me to say that shouldn't be his priority because it's not my money that's coming to me. But yeah, it's just getting to know the recruit, kind of getting a feel what's driving him, what's the final thing. Like, because I mean, there is cases where I think Samson Okalola out of Massachusetts, the 5-star offensive tackle last year, I think Michigan State would have won that recruitment if it was straight up, but it wasn't. Miami offered him a huge package to go there, and that's where he ended up going ultimately. So
you're talking about the pancake concho.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of figuring out what the priorities, because as prevalent as NIL is, there's still a lot of guys that are making the same decisions that all of you guys made it on, you know, where relationships, what degree they're getting, education, all that. So all those guys still exist out there. There's not a ton of guys that are just There's not like there's hundreds of guys that are just commanding huge contracts. So it's just figuring out, what their priorities are. And if you see guys that, and it's a money thing, yeah, you stick in it, but you can't ignore that next tier of guys that is maybe looking for, the right situation.
To that point, we're talking about the NIL, the high school. Have you been seeing the shift? Because I've been reading articles and hearing from players and parents that there seems to be a shift from the focus of NIL dollars going towards the high school kids more towards transfers. Have you seen that? And if so, what do you attribute all this to?
Yeah, I think you're seeing it there too. It's going throughout the whole thing where, because you spend so much time, you only have so much money that you're bringing in from the donors to get these guys. So if you put all your focus on acquiring the player out of high school, then you're leaving yourself a little vulnerable on your own roster. So then someone could come in and swoop in and, go after a Keon Coleman or something like that, where, it gets harder. So it's like there's a lot of layers to the problem, I guess, because and that's where I think too, where I was talking about how you want it to get to the point where guys are getting paid for what they've accomplished on your campus. So if you say, all right, we're not going to get in these crazy number NIL deals out of the recruiting thing, but we're going to take care of our guys financially. Once they, get here and they earn it and do all these things, then maybe you see less of, you're not going to lose guys to the transfer portal as easily.
Yeah, speaking of like the attrition, like not the attrition, the turnover that Michigan State's had from the coaching staff, there was an article that The Athletic put out today that featured Mel Tucker. I think we may have that. Can Mel Tucker and Michigan State football find an identity amid transfer portal highs and lows? And this was a great article written by Nicole Arbach and looks like Jamie Bardahl that highlighted, Michigan State's highs with acquiring a Kenneth Walker. Then you get poached for your starting quarterback and Peyton Thorne and Keon Coleman, number one receiver, and what the road looks like for Mel Tucker to rebuild and find an identity for the brand of football that Michigan State wants to be. You have been in this recruiting world for Michigan State for a long time, Corey. Mark Dethorn, that's the new recruiting director of player personnel. Have you seen him start to get his footing now in the recruiting world for Michigan State and start to get his sea legs under him?
Yeah, I think you're starting to see it, but I think we're going to really notice it more once we see these June official visits and how they differ maybe from what they did last year. I don't think you're going to see any goats on the field this year and kind of get back to basics. And but at the same point, he's going to make the visit fun and all of that stuff. But I think June is when you'll really see it publicly what the changes are with him, just because he came in so late that he's almost kind of playing catch up too, as far as learning the board and what guys, the coaches, staff and who he's got to target. So I think we'll have a clearer picture after a couple weekends here in June, just to see what changes have happened and do they shift focus on what they're doing on these visits from the previous regime to him. So I guess it's just a work in progress right now.
Yeah, Corey, last June, we talked about, it was my first experience in seeing like the madness behind this June official visits and what we were doing to roll out the red carpet for, guys that were some committed, some weren't, and they were just utilizing, I don't know if it's the free trip, but what is going to be the difference maker for us from last year to this year in converting these recruits and these official visits to truly get to Michigan State? Because I know we had some studs in last year, June, where we were close and we felt after they came here and they left. We were like, oh, we had them in the bag, and they were going to be Spartans. And then lo and behold, they post something and they're committed to another school. Like, what is it going to take for us in Michigan State and our messaging to these recruits coming in June to get them to commit and, you know, stay committed?
Yeah, I think you hit it in the head with some of them in the bag. I mean, that's how they lost a few of them. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just getting the right guys on campus, and then maybe prioritizing, you know, where you're at. Have some honesty of where you're at with some of these recruits, because I know for us, like, we were getting different intel than they were on certain people, where, you know, they're like, oh, I think we're in a really good spot for this guy, and so then, you know, I check around with a bunch of different sources around our network, you know, because that's the good thing with 247 is it's not just me. I can go talk to other team writers. I can talk to our national team, and, you know, their stuff is lining up with what I'm thinking, where maybe some of the other stuff wasn't, you know, that wasn't lining up with what Michigan State was feeling, or, you know, maybe we were better at saying, hey, this recruitment is going this way because of NIL stuff or whatever, where maybe they didn't see it the same way as us. So I think just having a different type of visitor on campus this year is a positive for one. And then, I mean, make it as exciting as you did last year, minus the farm animals, because I mean that still matters, you know. Like, I think, you know, I can't confirm whether they're going to have cars here, but everybody in the country does cars. And, you know, guys just like cars. So that's not being overly flashy, in my opinion. With that, that's just how recruiting works nowadays. You know, everybody's out there having fun. You know, like, if you guys came on a visit, you want to have fun. You don't want to just feel like you sat there and listened to lectures and how we're going to do everything. So I think you still see a lot of that, but I mean, for them, I think it's just, you know, about the staff continuing to build strong relationships with the prospects and their families. Like, I think offensive line, I think that's a good spot with Cap. I think he does a really good job getting to know the player as a person, you know, and their family and all that. So he sticks to that thing. I think some coaches maybe got away from that a little bit, and not necessarily on their own fault, as maybe just some of the targets that they were after. That's not what was important to them, the relationship part as much. So yeah, I think just, you know, getting the right people, getting to know them, and getting to know what matters.
I gotta show this Harriet one. Just don't throw the baby off the wall down with the bathwater.
Oh my goodness! Well, you have some great comments here in the chat. You know, there's one chat talk. There's a comment about 7 of the top 8 quarterbacks returning, the Heisman favorites. So let's bring up this article, and it's Corey's own company. 247 Sports says, here are the Heisman odds. You have 8 quarterbacks here. 7 of them are transfers. What does that say about the game as it is today, fellas?
Well, first, looking at that list, it seems like Bo Nix has been playing college football
forever.
He played with me.
Right. Bo Nix has been there forever. Yeah. That's a very interesting thing that they're all transfer. Is it about a system that they're in that's not conducive to their skill set, and they have to go somewhere else to, be successful. So that's one of the big questions that I have is, coming out, are these, players going into the right system? And it also goes into, does it have to deal with NIL? Because these guys that came in, it was, I think, the original schools were a little before the NIL time was really kicking in, and now they're transferring to other places. Now they have different weapons around them. So I think those are twofold. Is it the system, or is it, transferring to a different situation based off NIL?
Let's take a look at the list one more time, if we could pull it back up and see. Caleb Williams, okay, that's the Heisman winner from last year. He moved with his head coach, right, from Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm. Which is warranted. Like, that's typically what happens. You get them to transfer when a coach leaves. But yeah, to your point, that's good. That's a good point, Stray.
Yeah, Jordan Travis, similar situation there. We can put he's at Florida State now. Where was he at before, Corey?
I don't remember where he was at.
Yeah, I can't remember.
specifically,
Michael
but,
Penix, we know him. He was at Indiana. He went with his offensive coordinator, who became a head coach at Washington. Bo Nix, he's been everywhere. Quinn Ewers, he got the double bag. Quinn classed up. Now that's a guy who classed up. He was a junior in high school, had $1 million or something offer on the table at Ohio State, and he just says, I'm graduating now. He just forego his senior year of eligibility in high school to get the $1 million. Then he leaves Ohio State to go to Tennessee. So there's a bag chaser, like you said, but it was also
from Louisville.
But it was a good scheme. It was a good scheme too. He's still with Sark, Coach Sark down in Austin.
Well, he's also in a situation where you got C.J. Stroud and you have a loaded quarterback room where it's still weird that he picked Ohio State anyway because they were already a loaded quarterback room. But I mean, if you're a quarterback, you're also looking at the team that you're going to try to go to is like, do they got a solid offensive line to protect me? Which we know our K5 talked about, like, do they got guys that are going to protect my life? And then do they have weapons that I can throw to? And then ultimately is the system, like the system that gets me to the next level. But I just don't understand why we don't get, Penix. When he goes to IU, like, what happened with that? Like, these quarterbacks, like, why are some of these quarterbacks coming to us?
But the thing at the time,
I know we have a good.
When Penix was at IU, who did we have at quarterback? We had, I think, decent quarterbacks in that quarterback room there. I don't think he fit when he was at IU. Like Coach D'Antonio was coaching then.
I mean, you think about COVID, yeah, you're right.
Like he was.
Who was our quarterback, Jay? Who was it? If you can't name it.
I'm thinking he was there wasn't he? Oh, shit, who was it?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
What year did Penix go? I know.
Was he Lewerke?
I think so.
What's that?
Yeah,
Lewerke.
But I think Penix had a lot of injury stuff too, though.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is he stayed healthy because.
Blew his ACL.
I think he had a few injuries. Yeah, and I think he had another injury a second year too. So.
And you got to think too. Lewerke was the toast of the town. The first season that he was at the helm.
Yeah, he was very athletic guy out of Phoenix, Arizona. And then you got a guy like Sam Hartman who leaves Wake Forest to go to Notre Dame, big time program. They went all in for him to get him to South Bend. And then Jaden Daniels, talk about another quarterback that played against San Antonio, Arizona State,
beat us,
freshman. Remember that?
Still salty about that loss.
Yeah.
Driving all the way out, or flying out there and losing. And that heat, I'm still pissed about that. But
home. We lost both.
Yeah. I saw him play against Ole Miss when I went to visit LSU, and he's a heck of a talent. And when you got a quarterback and you got a coach that's going to let that quarterback take you to the promised land, like, it's a beautiful thing. But the transfer portal is like, I'm able to go and truly benefit from our personal gain on getting me to the next level. And these guys are top 10. It's going to be a crazy year college football because you got some stud quarterbacks.
And I know that Jaden Daniels is a guy that I know for a fact loved Mel Tucker before he decided to land at LSU. But Peyton Thorne was a returning starter, didn't want to crowd the quarterback room, allegedly. So look, guys, there's a lot of reasons that guys move, but these are very good quarterbacks, and they are transfers, and most of them. So that just gives you a picture as to where we hear about the bad side of the transfer portal, where people don't get picked up or they get pushed into the portal, but other people are using it to their advantage and making the most of it. It looks like. Corey, I want to ask you, who are you most excited about, having a chance to be maybe the unheralded player on Michigan State's team this year that may have a breakout season?
Malik Spencer, I like him a lot. The safety, I think he's the guy that would have had he started the season injured. I think his first game that he played in was the Michigan game. He had a good game there, and he kind of just kept growing from there in those final 4 games that he had. I think he's the guy that has a chance to be one of the real leaders of the defense and kind of set the tone of the physicality that they have there. So I think for me, he would be the guy that jumps out as far as a guy maybe people aren't talking about as much, just because he's a true freshman last year. And then I think offensively, just the quarterback, I think it gives you a chance to reset a little bit, change how you do some things. There's things that Peyton Thorne did well, and there's things that he struggled with, and those things might not be the same as it was for Noah Kim or Caton Hauser or Sam Levitt, the true freshman, if he was to come in and win it. They have different skill sets, which allows Jay Johnson to kind of do a few different things. But I think just seeing how the growth of the quarterback room with the change, and then Malik Spencer on defense. And I think Michigan State's defense is actually going to be pretty good this year. Their front seven with the defensive line and linebackers, I think that's going to stack up as well, good as anybody in the Big Ten. Honestly, they added a lot of talent and depth. And plus, they got a lot of guys back that were injured or suspended last year, too. So, you think about it now.
No one's combating this.
Corey, just so you know,
we had this conversation
I said,
Tuesday.
like, you're just like repeating word for word.
Oh my God, no. Now you're taking it to a different level. I said we still have to prove ourselves.
Yeah, we still have to prove ourselves. Of course, everyone still have something.
And I was like, I don't want that pressure.
He just said exactly what I said on Tuesday. But
Corey, maybe it's coming from you because you put your stake on it, and then we shit the bed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just want us to be like,
so. Go Corey, before we let you go, my question to you is this: I think everyone from the outside looking in, thinking it's Noah Kim's job to lose as the quarterback. Is that what you're hearing? Is that what you're seeing? Is that what you're feeling, with this quarterback battle?
Yeah, I think it's completely open. I don't think anyone's got a leg up or whatever, but I just think for me, what we've seen from Noah Kim and the little bit of action that he got last year during games, he looked really good. The offense, I thought, was very efficient. They looked quicker, almost like they were getting to the line quicker. They were, I thought one of the biggest problems for Peyton Thorne was holding on to the ball too long. So in the little bit of time you saw Peyton Thorne last year in games, and then in the spring this year, what you saw, I thought you saw Noah Kim just getting the ball out really quick and spreading it around. So I think I would put him as the front runner for the job just based off of what we've seen, but I do think that it's still pretty open.
There you go.
You heard Tutu's heart.
That's not exactly what he said before.
He's the front runner. I think, yes, I'll take being the front runner. He just has to go out there on the field and prove it. He's already doing a lot of things in the off season, behind the scenes and everything like that. So he's just going to continue to go out there and rally those guys and be a leader.
Great. That's a great point. I'm just reading a couple of these last, lines in the chat here. There's a comment about Duffy Daugherty was asked, what's he most excited about? Who's he most excited about coming back? And he said, me, Duffy Daugherty, the coach. So Mel, it's about Mel. He's the leader. He's the straw that stirs the drink, guys. So that's one thing. And also Laura Roop says, Nick Saban threw in the towel and said, make them all employees, talking about players. And the SEC media days, Nick Saban talked about, hey, why not just make everybody employees and have a salary cap like the NFL model? That's another thing. We could talk about that for a whole show, I'm sure. Corey, for you, you're entering into this big season of recruiting in June. Is there a recruit, and we won't hold you to this, because I know over the next 25 days before it goes quiet again, there's going to be a lot of movement. But is there someone that is tracking that people don't see right now that really likes Michigan State that we can be, supporting or, showing some love to?
You're on mute, Corey.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, Corey. He was going. He's going.
I think there's a lot of guys that could fit that mold. I think for me, I've always went with the approach of not necessarily like a name, but a skill set that you need to succeed. I think offensive line. I'm an offensive line guy, so I think if you could get Michael Williams, he was committed to South Carolina. He opened that back up. He's taking an official visit June 16th to Michigan State, where he's a 6'7", 325-pound offensive tackle. I think that's a guy. I think the twins, Charlton and Mercer Lenowski, they're two Ohio offensive linemen. I think those guys are some guys that you should be excited about. And then, I mean, they just have a ton of skilled players that are coming in that are, they just bring a lot of speed and playmaking ability. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. I do think Michigan State's going to fill a lot of their needs at defensive back, wide receiver, running back, probably quarterback, and offensive line. So by the end of June, middle of July, I think you're going to see a class that's pretty close to full following these June visits.
Love it. Corey, man, as always, man, we really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing some of those jewels that you drop for everyone and giving us great insight. Gotta love the offensive line love that you shared there too. Got to bring those big fellas in to make everything else go. But Corey, man, appreciate it. Man, we're gonna come back and bring you back on after this recruiting season wraps up, so we can get a better picture as this class crystallizes for 2024.
Definitely. Sounds good, guys. Anytime.
I appreciate it, Corey.
All right, man. Get some rest, man.
Right.
A couple hours.
Right.
Got you.
Corey Robinson, 247 Sports, ladies and gentlemen. That he went down to the Wayne State camp, and we didn't cover it. We didn't talk a lot about it because there wasn't a lot going on down there. There's a lot of people, a lot of coaches all over the place. But those things can be hit or miss. But hey, look, guys. What do you guys think? It was a great show, in my opinion. A lot of information there. Otis, what are your final thoughts?
Well, final thoughts, because you're gonna forget again.
No,
I'm gonna have to remind you here on this one that
our
boy Pete, do it. Yeah. So our boy Pete, who was with us in the trenches as we started this podcast and getting us started, and what you see today was our guy Pete. And his brainchild of getting us right. And so, Pete is still will be involved in getting us content, but ultimately will be truly doing a great part of this show of getting us, some more partners, but also more support. But he definitely still will be involved. And so we didn't give him his full flowers or his love, last show, which was on Tuesday in the background. You don't see him much, but he did make a cameo last season. I think it was Thursday before we went to Penn State.
That's right.
And so we might do that again, knowing that we're at Ford Field. He's going to pop up again and talk, but definitely want to give him love and obviously appreciative, because without him, we would still probably been doing some old school stuff with our phones in the IHOP or, back in the whatever basement we might have been in, but he definitely elevated us. So Pete's, I think he's canoeing right now, spending a good time off, during the hour. Like, he's doing things that, we sometimes wish we could do. But no, definitely want to give him his flowers and love. So
yeah, and definitely appreciate everything that Pete did. But with that, let's welcome Tony.
Yeah,
we had producer Pete Mendez, who we're talking about. Pete Mendez is moving on just into a different role. And we always had Tony G and the Tony OG, Tony Costello. And then now Tony, how do you say Tony's last name? Properly?
I'm not going to butcher it. I want to say
Tony, why don't you jump on?
Yeah, tell me real quick.
Come on in, Tony. There he is.
He's making us wait for it.
Tony L.
You got me?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. Video, I'm not sure what's up with the video. We'll get that straightened out. I'm on the old school recording on a iPhone like you guys. No, Tony LaBarbera.
I was gonna say it, man. Yeah, I just went with it. Man, me and
Tony
Fearful.
LaBarbera.
Everyone has butchered it since I was in 5th grade, so you can say whatever you want and I'll answer to it. I don't even correct it anymore.
Got you.
Tony LaBarbera. In relation to the LaBarbera family in Western New York, I once dated a girl named Amber LaBarbera.
When I was in high school, there was a Jason LaBarbera who was the goalie for the Kings, I think. So, but other than that, nah.
It'd be very funny if he was like, that's my sister.
Oh my goodness.
We appreciate Tony joining us, man. Like, yeah. Go ahead.
No. As Pete goes out, Pete Menez goes out, and we have Tony LaBarbera coming in, Sport and Story, doing a lot of big things. And we've been talking about a lot of special things that Otis is working on. A lot of guys are working behind the scenes. So, stay tuned. Things are they're coming big, getting primed for a big football season.
Wait, is the AI? No. Hey, sometimes we think Steve Smith was. Hey, before we met Steve Smith, we thought he was AI, huh?
Right.
No, he's a real human, Steve. He's a real human. Enjoy Mississippi down there, Steve. He's having fun down in the SIP.
In the
right
SIP.
now.
I'll be in Alabama tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Alabama.
The Panthers going to take on the New Orleans Breakers and the kickers, Matt Coughlin. He's doing a terrific job.
He is.
He's like leading the league in points right now.
Unreal.
Oh, you love that kicker.
It.
You love that kicker.
Yeah. When he does his job, right? Man. Yeah. And hats off. Like your Michigan Panthers are undefeated on the road.
Undefeated.
Completely winless at home. Undefeated on the road.
Yeah, they need to. They got a Ford Field, and they want to get that juju for 2 seasons. So. No. I blame you, Choo Choo. Don't bring that juju over here now.
No, great show tonight, fellas. I mean,
Definitely.
If you guys enjoyed the show, hit the like and subscribe button. Please do that. It helps us continue to bring you the best Spartan fan experience twice a week. Also, check out the playlist selection of our YouTube page to see previous great interviews. Guaranteed to inform and entertain you. Guys, great show. For Otis Wiley, Jehuu Caulcrick, I'm Jason Strayhorn. This is Sparta MSU. Have a good night. God bless. And go. This is Sparta MSU as a combined presentation of Playfly Sports Properties and Michigan State Sports Properties. The show is produced by Pete Menez with additional support from Tony Costella. Operations and social media support is provided by Alicia Strayhorn with support from Cecily Max Brown. On-location technical support is provided by Good Fruit Video. Be sure to follow our hosts Jason Strayhorn, Jehuu Caulcrick, and Otis Wiley on social media. To stay up to date with all the latest, this is Sparta News. Please like and subscribe by visiting our link tree and tell a friend to do the same. Thank you for your support, and as always, go green.